How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Foo Show. I'm your host, Coach Ali Fusho. Once again, if you guys don't get the joke or don't get the pun, I have no idea what to say to you. But obviously, as you can see, I am not alone. I have somebody right beside me. His name, actually, I think it's best if you introduce yourself.
Yeah, Raymond Debuque from DBQ Powerlifting and Zest Power Gym. And
Okay.
this is Fusho.
Oh, that's all you have to say. Anyway, Raymond is really one of the top, I would say, whatever you might contest it, but I'm really going to firmly say it again and again that Raymond is definitely one of the best powerlifting athletes and powerlifting coaches here in the Philippines. He's been that way for a good number of years now, and I really do see that his future in the sport, in the community, is not going to end anytime soon. So, Raymond, I'm happy to have you here in my gym. You were also one of my guests in my previous attempt, and actually, I won't say it's an attempt. Like, I really went for it. The philosophy,
The philosophy.
that podcast that I had a year or two ago. He was
Redacted.
he was a guest of mine there. Like, and I'm happy. I was happy that he said yes to join me then, and I'm even happier that he's able to come over here on a Sunday noon to join me for another episode, but this time for the Foo Show. And it's so funny. When I told him the name of the podcast, he just kept on cursing and laughing. Because, anyway, Raymond's also a man of culture. He does love his memes, his puns as well.
Man.
All right.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime. Now, Raymond, I do want to mention the thing that you were mentioning to me a while ago is that you are blessed and cursed with the responsibility, I would say it's more of a blessing, of handling 283 entries.
Yeah,
For
I trimmed it down
powerlifting.
actually, around 276 right now. So I trimmed the duplicates, yeah.
So we're specifically, to the audience out there, we're specifically talking about the PAP. Sorry, what does PAP stand for again? I keep forgetting.
Powerlifting Association of the Philippines.
So can you run me down how has that been to receive 270 or 80 entries for when's the competition?
This is on July, last 2 weeks of July, 23, 24, 30, 31.
Okay, so as of recording this, we are recording this on June 19. So that's basically
5 weeks out.
5 weeks out. So your position in PAP, what's your position in PAP?
So right now I'm the Secretary General, or I'm a board member of the Powerlifting Association of the Philippines. And yeah, it's been a really wild ride. 270 something participants. That's the biggest we've ever had.
In the entire history of
The
PAP?
entire history of PAP.
Wow.
That is insane.
So with that huge number of competitors, how long is how many days is the competition, and how many platforms do you think you guys would need to really have an efficient flow?
So as of this morning, I've confirmed we're gonna have to need 2 platforms for this. So the schedule is going to be released in a publicity material or later tonight, no?
Okay.
But nothing's gonna change on the weekends. We're gonna move around some classes. We kind of sort of expected the same distribution in terms of weight classes, but
Okay.
everything else not really changes. Nothing really changes much.
You're not gonna, because I believe Raymond told me a while ago that, so with the 270 now, but the previous highest number was 210, roughly.
Around 210, 220.
So don't you expect that? How many, I guess, volunteers? Did you need more volunteers for?
Oh
this?
yes, definitely. I was going to post. I was going to post on the PAP Facebook group. We have a Facebook group for the lifters and coaches. We're gonna need some, but I'm gonna need to confirm which ones because we're looking for the experienced personnel first.
Okay.
Right, so we're gonna fill up the spots with the experienced ones and the skilled. Let's say for technicals. Well, of course, referees. We don't really have a choice. We need to get the referees that are certified by PAP. But yeah, 270 is nothing we can't handle. We've handled 210 in 1 weekend actually.
Oh, okay.
2 platforms. So making it 2 weekends. This is gonna be a bit smoother than usual. So for those nakasali na sa PAP competitions back then, it's not going to be as chaotic, definitely.
Okay,
The venue is going to be bigger, for sure.
Okay, and that's really important because I know that you and everyone that's handling the federation is stressed, but we do have to remind ourselves that the competitors are there, really trying to do their 110%. So I guess it should revolve around them. You want to make them as comfortable as possible because we are trying to make sure that the sport here in the Philippines, no matter what federation you're part of, just keeps on getting promoted. I'm happy, and I think you'd agree that it's headed towards the right direction because year after year, despite the pandemic, there's a good boom in the number of participants and interest in the sport of powerlifting.
Yes, and not even just the number, the numbers they're putting out, the totals I've seen, squat, bench, deadlift. Man, these lifters, they're on something.
It's really, really crazy. So, quick throwback. Raymond and I met 7 or 8 years ago, back when I was 70 kilos. So right now I'm like going like 80 to 85, within that range. Back then, so 8 years ago, I was somewhat competitive in that weight class because there were 2 or 3 competitions that I placed gold and silver. Right now, if I were to place those same numbers, I would be last place.
No, not last place,
but near last, near last. So it's just great. I mean, of course, it's kind of it's like I'm insulting myself, but it's just so amazing to see that the sport, as you mentioned, is not only growing in the number or the volume of people that are joining these competitions, but the quality of lifters or like just every year just getting better and better. And I'm pretty sure you, as somebody who's been in this sport or community for 20 years, you're probably one that's seeing the most growth.
Yeah, man. The growth has been insane. The athletes, the totals in the hundreds, 105s, 120s back in 2017, 2016, it's being hit by people in the 93s, even 83s right now.
That's
so
crazy.
It's insane.
Of course, it might hurt some people's egos, but again, it's not about them. It's about the sport.
It's about
getting
the sport.
better, and that's really, really good to see. All right, so I mentioned that you've been in the community, you've been in the sport for the past 20 years. I do want to ask, what has been the biggest change when it comes to some norms of powerlifting programming? Like if you were to look back 10, 15 years ago, what was the norm that was being normally practiced by people? And has that changed drastically, or is it the exact same way until now, 2022?
I would say some aspects changed, but the tried and true progressive overload schemes, the periodizations, it hasn't changed a lot.
Okay.
At least for my programming or for the programming I've been seeing in a lot of athletes. But yeah, the biggest change probably was, we're gravitating towards more specificities because we're talking about 10, 15 years ago. That was when Raw didn't even exist. Or, well, didn't exist in a competition, from a competition standpoint. A lot of people were lifting Raw in the gyms, right? So back then we were competing single ply, multiply, equipped lifting was the thing. So you're gonna see a lot more variations with the bands, with the chains, with the boxes, all those accessories for powerlifting. Nowadays, it's more or less been more simplifying than anything. It's more squat, bench, deadlift, and
just get better at those 3.
Get better at those 3.
Okay, so you mentioned that the tried and true, tried and tested methods are like periodization. Can you, for the viewers out there that aren't super familiar, can you give a quick, I know you can talk about it for how many, like an hours on how to structure a periodized program, but can you give a quick rundown on the general trend or sequence of a properly periodized program?
So,
sorry, to help you out, let's say that you're 4 months out there.
All right, so we're 4 months out, and we're talking about traditional periodization. 4 months is typically where you want the higher rep ranges, or that's with the classic, right? That's the style I'm using. There are a lot of styles, so disclaimer, there are a lot of styles of periodization, but essentially it goes from higher volume, lower intensity to higher intensity, lower volume. The weekly volumes, it varies, what can I say? But generally, you want higher reps, lower intensity. You're building up fatigue 4 months out, up to like 3 months out. Building up strength to 2 months out, and then realizing that strength around the last 4 weeks of the program.
Okay. So, in case somebody watching this who's not super familiar with that, when you say higher reps, we're not talking about 20 or 30 reps of squat, bench, and deadlift, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So when you say higher reps, can you give us a rough range of, like, or can you break it down month by month? Like, if you're 4 months out, what's the average rep range, 3 months, etc.?
So I don't really give rep ranges beyond 10 for the competition lifts. I do give a lot for the accessories, sometimes triceps for like 20 reps or rear delts 20 reps or something like that. But for the main lifts, I don't really go above 10 reps because the RP, when you're programming RPE, the 10 rep range, it kind of has a lot of room for error.
Yes.
Some lifters have more grit and can push like 4 more reps or something, but some like give out after 10. Case in point, myself. Even if I'm loading like 50% of the bar and like do 12 reps with it, I'm gonna die.
That's primarily because I'm gonna assume lung capacity.
It's cardio, lung capacity, and actually the fatigue in the legs or something.
Oh,
the muscles, yeah. They just seize up after a while.
So it's both the cardiovascular health and your leg fatigue.
Leg endurance, yeah. So essentially, you can load like 120 to 170 and it's gonna feel the same for me.
Really?
Yeah, something like that.
Of course, as Raymond's saying this, we have to understand that he is in like the higher, like higher tiers when it comes to how their training age. Like, of course, that's gonna be completely different from somebody who just started lifting 3 months ago, right? So whatever Raymond says, understand where he's coming from as well. So you don't program sets more than 10. That's so 4 months out is like 8 or 10 reps. Then break it down so that they can take it in.
Well, I mean, it depends on the athlete, but yeah, generally, we're talking about 6 to 10 reps in the 4 months out. It's a bit nuanced.
Okay.
So something like that, and then we're gonna go to 3 months out, six-ish reps. We're gonna go 2 months out, 5-ish reps, and then so that on the last month, triples, even singles. Depends on the athlete. Or it depends on what I think the athlete
Because
needs.
of course, as a coach, of course, you made some very, very solid points for anyone who's not being coached to like take it in that, okay, this is how you periodize it leading towards a competition. But since Raymond is a powerlifting coach, he does get the feedback, or he does get feedback from his athletes, from his clients, because, I mean, I guess that's why they call it personal training in the first place. It's not like he's going to be a fixed or like a read-only Google sheet or a program that you can find on Google. He's gonna adapt. So I'm happy that we're talking about that because I wanted to ask you, as a coach, what's the biggest or the most consistent challenge that you have been encountering when it comes to coaching your clients, whether this be in season or off season?
So one of the biggest challenges, I think, is finding out how the athlete's mind works.
Their mind.
Yeah, psychologically, because you have athletes that don't even give feedback for
they just do the workout.
Yeah, just give them the program, they work out. They send a video once a week. Okay, it looks fine. And then these athletes improve. Like, one of my athletes just sends me videos. Oh, it's si Roy, kung nanonood ganito. Sends me videos of his top sets once a week. We've been hitting the same program, around the same program for about 1.5 years now, and he's grown like a lot by like 100 kilos in his total.
In his total, wow.
Yeah.
In a year.
Yeah, and some athletes need more attention. Some athletes, you're gonna have to micromanage their RPEs. Sometimes they're overshooting or undershooting, actually. And those athletes, you need to talk to them a bit more, especially the ones with injuries, the ones with mental health issues.
That's so
they don't really love training as much, but they want to compete, so they're gonna need to push through it, right?
Yeah, so I guess we can phrase what you're saying is that you always, I mean, to some extent, there will be some form of conversation or discussion that needs to happen with your clients. So whether that be a conversation that you mentioned with Roy, that's roughly once a week, or somebody that you would actually coach and micromanage? How often? Like what, every day or almost every single day?
Whenever they send me sets, so sometimes it's every training day. Sometimes it doesn't need to happen because they actually hit it perfectly.
Okay.
And some athletes are too hyped, the beginners. Actually, one of the newer lifters was like, Coach, I want to increase. Dagdagan pa natin to. I want to hit 200 today. Parang ganun.
But then you have to like wait.
Not yet. There's a time and place.
So this is, I guess, advice to everyone, or the newer lifters out there. We all know that everyone wants to progress as fast as possible, but if you have a coach and you believe that your coach, and of course you should believe the coach because you hired that coach, is gonna tell you the best possible thing that he or she thinks is that's gonna work for you, listen to your coach. That's the point.
And I want to stress that part. What he thinks is good for you. So all coaches have different methods, way different methods.
Different. Every coach is different. Every coach is different.
You have to know that sometimes the method of your coach does not work for you. So there's like infinite variations on how you can design a program, the accessories, the rep ranges, the sets, even the arrangement of exercises in
so true.
the program is so nuanced that you have to understand it. The coach will try their best to adapt their program to you, but sometimes it just doesn't work. And sometimes it doesn't fit, and I think that's one of the most important parts when finding a coach. The method and the coaching style, it has to fit with you. It has to fit perfectly.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, this is a relationship. Of course, not romantic. Actually, please don't make it romantic. But I have to stress that too. No. But yes, this dynamic, it is a relationship, and for the goal to be achieved, you have to have a healthy relationship with your coach. We have to make sure that you guys are on the same page. You guys are hindi naman sa same vibe as like at every single minute, but you have to understand that okay, your coach is saying this, then you will try to do your best to absorb what that is. That's because if you maintain a healthy coaching relationship, that's going to propel you or going to put you in the best position to propel you to progress towards your next PR or towards your whatever your fitness goal is. And this applies to coaching relationships that's outside powerlifting as well, whether that be bodybuilding, weightlifting, general fitness, sports. You need to have a healthy relationship, and the best way to achieve that is having constant conversation. It's really all about talking, because no matter what you put down on your program, if you or if the coach or the client or the athlete does not give feedback or doesn't try to like communicate what we're trying to achieve, then nothing's gonna happen. Yeah. And that's something that we really, really need to stress. It's a two-way street. It's really a two-way street here. So when you have, in the past when you were coaching all your clients, I know that everyone has their schedule, everyone has examples. Someone's a student, someone has a job, someone has 2 jobs or whatever. But in your experience of coaching, what has been the best frequency when it comes to training? And I know everyone can progress at twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. That's true, and we're gonna make that clear. You can progress no matter how many times you go to the gym. There will be some nuances here or there, or some adjustments that have to be made. But in your experience, what has given you or granted you and your clients, your athletes, the best progress?
Well, I've been trying to stay consistent to my method, and my average method is 4 times a week.
4 times a week.
All right, so what has helped progress, not just the frequencies, trying to get them to train the same times, same day every week, and actually have their recovery consistent every time.
So when you say same day, so example, if you and your athlete discuss, oh coach, I can do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, no matter what, you did try to maintain that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean best effort, of course.
Best effort, okay.
But those that do maintain that, they actually, I can make adjustments to their program way easier. And then they make, not the best progress. They make the most predictable progress.
Okay, and predictable progress is still progress, and that's the one that you can manage more, like better. So more than the frequency, you're saying that the timing or just the consistency of the schedule. I mean, we all know this, that consists above everything, no matter what aspect of training or nutrition that you talk about. It's really going to be consistency, because even though if you've done everything perfectly for the first 2 weeks, if you go stray for the next or the third or fourth week, then it's hard to get a full discussion out of that.
It goes with everything, even injury management, actually.
Injury management. Okay, thank you for mentioning that, because I wanted to mention that a few weeks ago, and I think you're comfortable with talking about it. You got hurt by you got injured, just to say it straight up. Can you let us know? And of course, for somebody who's been doing for 20 years or so, being injured is not new. I wanted to ask, in the past, when you were injured, of course, you would recover from those, but each injury that you would unfortunately go through again, what steps or what methods have you learned or that's actually really, really helpful to heal and to prevent it from happening again?
All right. So number one tip, I think, stay calm.
Stay calm.
Stay calm. So it's easy to go on an emotional roller coaster after you get injured, and that's what I went through. That's what all injured athletes go through, especially the ones with the acute injuries, not even the overuse ones. But yeah, the acute injuries are the worst. They can propel you into in a depressed state for a while, make you quit the sport, make you essentially throw everything away, or drop everything. Number one, stay calm. Number two, do not stop moving. Do not stop training. There exists a load there exists a certain small enough load that you can do to move, and pain-free movement.
Pain-free.
And there will exist, for example, you tweak your back, you couldn't deadlift for anything. Could you bend over by 10 degrees? Then you got it. You never stop moving. Never stop moving. If it's painless, move through it. If not, look for a different movement. Number two. So finally, number three, don't do anything don't deviate too much from the plan. So,
I've never thought about it that way. That's a very good tip.
Yeah, don't deviate too much. For example, don't do huge jumps per week basis. So what I see in programs that are RPE based is when a lifter goes for like an RPE 7, and let's have a random number 200 for single, squat 200 for single at 7, and then the week after he's feeling amazing. The 200 moved like at 5.5 or even 5. Then he proceeds to go through 2. He's feeling so good. He hits 240 out of the norm. He hasn't hit that weight in let's say 3-4 months, and he hit it, strained his glute or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get lost with the good feeling for the day. I know it's RPE based, and it varies a lot with what you're feeling on the day itself. Pero you have to understand that the body needs some time to get used to the weights. Not just your nervous system, not just your strength levels, but the body needs some time to get used to the
stimulus,
the bigger weights. So if you hit something that you haven't hit in a while, even if it's really light, it's a higher risk of injury.
Yeah.
It's like you're exposing your body to a weight or load na hindi pa niya na-experience in a while.
That's so true. Because a lot of people, to those who aren't familiar, like RPE or rate of perceived exertion, or I guess another way, like some other people would phrase it, in RIR training, but I guess that's for powerlifting. It's primarily RPE. a lot of people really go in it so subjectively, and of course it takes a while, and of course it somewhat is subjective to some degree, but it should be objective because that's how you're gonna really promote. But that's a really good point that Raymond shared, because a lot of people, they're so in the moment, and of course it's understandable. If you're in the moment, sure, but then if there's a preset plan already plotted out for you, it would be in your best interest to not stray away from it. And when it comes to injury management, injury prevention, that's going to be really, really crucial. So that's about prevention. Whenever you would get injured though, or you mentioned about the movement, anything outside of that, aside from the obvious one is get some sleep and make sure that you're hydrated. I mean, that should be a no-brainer already. I think one thing that should be emphasized is that talk to a professional. That's super important. So even though if Raymond is super veteran or experienced in these things, he's going to, I know Raymond, I'll speak on his behalf, that he knows his limitations. He's primarily a coach, a strength coach. But is he a physical therapist to the highest degree?
No.
Not at all. He's familiar with it, but it would always be the better option to have somebody that knows more than you about the specific field to have their say on the matter. Because if you're really serious about getting better, about recovering so that you can go back to your sport as quick as possible, you have to consult with somebody. And I know it can be expensive sometimes, without a doubt, but that's something for you to consider down the line. If you're gonna ask yourself if what matters to you, or how bad do you want to get back to it, then with all the things that you mentioned, movement or like not straying off from the path, sleep, stress, staying calm, all of those are very, very solid. But I think within or like as you go through those, having somebody else smarter than you or better than you at that field, or specifically in recovery, is going to be super duper important. So you got injured, I'm gonna be straightforward. You got injured 6-7 weeks ago, or like how?
3 weeks.
Oh, 3 weeks. Okay, felt like forever. Pain was what, 8 out of 10 when it happened?
When it happened, I couldn't stand up. I couldn't walk straight.
But then, so it's 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks ago, and he's here right now. Obviously, not lifting.
I'm not lifting 300 kilos.
Not lifting his usual weights. Not in. But I'm happy to see that you're able to walk. That's one thing. That's always a bonus, or that's always a good thing to see that somebody's walking.
Got my legs.
What's a good projection for you to get back to your usual? I'm not saying for you to PR, but I'm just asking, like, do you think you'd be healthy to get back to your usual in like 2-4 weeks? How long?
Yeah, my usual. I'm not gonna rush this process.
There you go.
The last time.
Don't rush. That's another tip.
Yeah,
Don't rush.
not rush the process. So the first time I got injured like this was when I slipped my disc back in 2016.
Oh, fun.
That took like 6 months to get back to competitive
Sheesh.
conditioning. But I didn't know any better. I was I was preventing myself from hinging, preventing myself from moving and through the pain. There's something to be said about just the pure grit also, and knowing that what you're doing is actually beneficial. And not
Yes.
counterproductive, because back then I was forcing myself onto like reverse hypers even if it was so painful.
Oh my gosh.
So that didn't help for sure.
Oh wow. Going through pain wasn't helpful? Wow, that's
Do
new
more.
information.
No, so projection wise, so week 0 I could barely walk. Week 2 I can walk and do pretty much 90% of my daily life. Week 3 is completely painless. I've deadlifted
very
100 kilos for like sets of 8. No problem so far.
Okay.
And squat, no problem as well, 100 kilos.
Oh, even squat, nice.
Yeah. I think a safe estimate would be around 2 months to get to training condition, back to training condition.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not going to push it in Raw Nationals. I don't think I'll be competing. Spoiler alert, but I don't know yet. Maybe you'll see me on the platform. Who knows, diba? But yeah, I'm not going to push for my total in Raw Nats because One, I'm not really competing for any medals anymore.
Okay.
I'm competing to
He has too
improve
many
my total.
medals. Yeah, too many medals, too many trophies already.
Not really. But the thing is, when I compete, or looking at the medals, because I kind of just feel like an imposter going through like the strongest man in the Philippines, but you see a lot of strong Filipino people all around the world or something. The medal doesn't really mean much for me. Or
That's so true.
the trophy. Well, best lifter is nice because you compete with all 200 lifters, but
That's good.
the medals, it kind of makes me feel like an imposter to some point. I don't feel like a clown or something, but yeah, the real reason I compete is I like to max out on the platform. I like to improve my totals. So if I'm not going to improve my total for this competition, I don't really think
See the
there's
point.
a point.
Okay.
competing. Maybe just to join in the fun, right?
It's to be part of the
Part of
vibe, the atmosphere.
community. Yeah, of course. That's a big part of it. But competing, like pushing myself to like get those numbers
When you're not
you're
really
putting myself at
Yes.
risk, right? Putting myself at risk of another re-injury, which is worse than the injury, by the way.
Yes.
So if you get re-injured, it's actually much worse.
Yeah.
So you better be careful with that.
That's super true. And for another thing that we would, as coaches, that we would want to talk about is the longevity of everything. Of course, we're not, when somebody goes into powerlifting, it's not like we have to force that person, oh, you have to be in the sport for like 3 or 5 years. But we want, or like 20 years. But we want to give them the option because we don't want them to leave the sport just because they rushed into things, they didn't manage their injuries, etc. So longevity is so important, even if you're not in the sport, because if you hurt yourself because of the sport, your daily life is going to be affected so much. You won't be able to get carry your groceries. You won't be able to lift the gallon of water to put it back on the dispenser. All of these things are very true. If you're hurt, you won't be able to do those as effectively. Longevity is super duper key, and I think a lot of the things that we were able to talk about today are going to help towards that, to make sure that you will be able to lift, not necessarily the heaviest, the longest, but the fact that you'll be able to move for potentially the rest of your life at a very healthy and active manner. I think that's the end game for a lot of people would want. You don't want to put it all out in just one rep and you're gonna hurt yourself for 5 or 10 more years.
For sure. And we've been talking about this, and I picked this up from my own coach. You know him, Hani, from the Strength Athlete. Picked this. He mentioned this in a call back when he was coaching. Back when we were under doing the check-ins, right? Mentioned that there's something to be said about lifters that learn to enjoy the process instead of the results. So there are lifters that see the results, and then I'm gonna aim for gold medal for best lifter. Those are the kind of lifters that burn out really fast.
Oh my god.
So if you always try to be the best, well, good for you. You try your best in everything you do in powerlifting, but if you have to manage your expectations. There's always gonna, it's kind of a bit cliche, but there's always gonna be a bigger fish, right? There will always come a day where someone's gonna arrive, be stronger. You can do the best you can, of course, from a lifter standpoint, but you have to learn that it's not just about the results. Because if you look at the results and just take a look and see, oh, I'm number one, that's why I'm training. That's a weird, and that's a very vulnerable way to stay in the sport. But if you train for the process, you like the way you're improving, you like the process of training, getting stuff done, being disciplined in your diet, not me, but yeah, being disciplined in everything or achieving the small victories, getting 10 kilos on your total, 20 kilos on your total. The moment you start enjoying those things more than the medals or the trophies or the accolades, it's the moment you become a more mature lifter.
Oh my god, that's so true. That's really it, and that's how you stay in the game. And I think whoever stays in the game the longest will inevitably be the strongest.
Yeah.
I mean, to some extent, of course, if you're out early
Genetics,
on,
man.
of course, your genetics will play a huge factor as well. But the more time that you allow yourself to, if you add 5 or 10 kilos every year, which is still, it's great, but if you compound that for 5, 10, 15 years, those numbers are going to speak for themselves.
200 kilos, right?
Oh, wow, math.
Yeah, I think that's what the newer lifters need to learn early on.
Yes.
It's either you give, I've been thinking about this quite a while. It's either you give time or effort. So you can give 1 year, 100% of your effort, your energy, your resources to powerlifting. Definitely will get you a long way.
Yeah.
Right? Even 1 year. But can you sustain that for more than a year? What if you didn't get your goals in a year? What's gonna happen?
Well, damn.
You're so invested in the sport and like you get disappointed.
Your mental game is gonna get
Yeah.
thrown off so bad.
I worked so hard this year. I worked so hard. I lost all my friends. My job. I had to quit my job for this sport.
Relationships, yeah.
Yeah, my relationships. I had to lose my girlfriend. Was it all worth it? And you didn't even win. Or something like that. But if you just you have to manage like your energy towards the sport, and you manage your expectation. Right?
That's so true. Well, there you have it, folks. So just two coaches talking about, we're really happy about everything. I mean, we're talking about something really important. I know that the newer lifters out there, you don't get to really fully absorb what we're saying because it does take years, like as Raymond mentioned, like to become or lean towards being a mature lifter. And it takes a while because even though Raymond's not a stupid guy, I'm pretty sure he's heard something like this even earlier on in his career, like to some extent. But as a new lifter, no matter who you are, the push, the drive is still there. It takes some years to fully absorb these things that we're talking about because you're not after longevity, you're after like 110% performance. But again, longevity is something that we do want to promote as much as possible because if you want to stay in the sport or if you want to excel in the sport, your time or how many months or years you dedicate to it will be with it because you can't be first place in like a year or 6 months. You can.
Yeah.
You can. So you have to ask yourself, what do you really want to achieve? Very tas yun pala. Next year, meron na. We never know. But yeah, so that's our take when it comes to how you should be managing your coaching, coaching relationships, how to manage yourself, your injury management, how to just look at it from the bigger perspective because it's not all about just what you do in that single session. It's about, at the end of the day, it's about the consistency, it's about the bigger picture, the grand scheme of things. But before we end this episode, I just have a couple of very, very light questions. I would say I don't want to say it's rapid fire, but it's like semi-rapid, so you can give your answer, and it's nothing juicy. This is just something so that the viewers can take home and learn and take it for what it is. Very, very, nothing juicy. So semi-rapid fire. So what I want you to do is answer the question, or I'll ask you something, answer it, then give like a 5 to 10 second explanation on why your answer is that. All right. So first one is, what is your favorite sumo accessory?
Sumo accessory plus sumo.
Explain.
There's no other variation that comes close.
That's true.
Bang for buck.
And it really helps train the bottom half or like the first positioning, which is super important when it comes to the sumo deadlift. Positioning is every movement, but especially in the sumo. So yeah, when I said semi-rapid fire, it's really semi because we want to explain things because people might take it and it's like, oh, sabi ni coach, blah blah blah. All right, favorite accessory for conventional deadlift?
RDLs.
RDLs, why?
The conventional is too stressful to have more than one or to have a lot of. So you supplement it with conventional, with RDLs.
Okay. Favorite bench accessory?
Ooh, so
if you were to just pick one that you think can benefit the entire community, like the majority, that will work the most.
Tempo pause bench.
Tempo pause. Can you give you have a specific count, or just make sure that it's slower?
It's typically 3.0 for most athletes should be fine. Yeah, positioning, learning to keep tension all the way through the bottom, even at the pause.
So that's with the same grip width that they would use for the competition?
Yes.
Okay, very good. That's a good point. All right, favorite squat accessory? If just for, again, there are a lot, just pick one. Sorry? More squats?
Pause squats. No, pause squats.
Pause squats. Okay, I'd love to give a quick mention for what he mentioned a while ago. Specificity is something that's been really, really, I wouldn't want to say on the rise, but there's more emphasis on it. Notice when almost every question that or answer that Raymond gave, it's still relatively the same movement with a slight tweak, because that's really how you get better. If you want to get better at something, do that something over and over again. It's not like Raymond would say, I asked, what's your favorite sumo accessory? Block pulls. No one's gonna think, or banded block pulls with chains, right? It's not gonna be like that, right? Next one. What is, in a powerlifting perspective, programming, what's the best core movement for your torso? Yeah.
Oh man, I actually changed my mind on this.
Oh, then go.
But
Sure.
I'm gonna say any rotational exercise.
So, if in all the rotations, Russian twist, weighted,
Choppers, Russian twist, or some variation.
cable, plate, dumbbell.
Yeah. Let's say wood choppers.
Cable.
The ones that train your obliques. Yeah.
Okay. But so you mentioned you changed your mind before you love rotation. Which was it?
So I've learned. It's a bit of a bias, but because for all those years of training, I've built my obliques through lots of lifting, like strength or squat, deadlift. I've changed my mind on this because none of the top. Myself, I've been doing a lot of core exercises back in the day, so I can't say you've had that opportunity. So the newer lifters didn't have that opportunity. So I think there's something that needs to be said about lifters growing their core muscles with different exercises in the beginning. So movement is hypertrophy. You can't hypertrophy your muscles through static core exercises.
Wow, that's a nice take. Okay.
Or you can't hypertrophy them efficiently.
All right. So adding on to the core movement topic, how many times do you train your core in a week?
I have a core exercise like 3-4 times a week.
3-4 times a week. So okay. So basically every training day.
Yeah, almost every training day.
No matter if it's a bench day or okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
doesn't
Good.
matter.
All right. Name 3 exercises that are overrated for raw powerlifting.
Box squats, block pulls, and I don't know what you call that, slingshot bench.
Slingshot bench. Those look cool though back in the day.
Yeah.
But overrated though.
Overrated is it has some place, right?
But the hype that.
Overrated, yeah, no.
So everything has its place to some extent, but the hype that some things receive, doesn't deserve it. Sometimes.
I mean, you can say overhead press
For powerlifting,
for
yeah.
powerlifting, but yeah, we go for the powerlifting movements as well.
Yeah. Again, specificity is everything. Name your top 3 mobility drills for powerlifters.
Shoulder cars, hip cars, and we call that cat camels.
When do you do them and how often?
Cat cows, whatever. I do them every time. Every workout day, I have the cars. Those are my bare minimum. So I have my shoulder cars and hip cars, or something that involves the rotation of the hips and shoulders. And then to loosen up the back, we have the cat camel, because you sit a lot. I sit a lot, and that's one of the reasons I probably got injured.
How long do you take to generally warm up before you step under the bar?
Oh man. Before I step under the bar, 5-10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes.
That's when I say 5 to 10 minutes. That's not 5 to 10 minutes of like doing this and like being on the phone and like doing like that.
It's
5 to 10
intentional.
minutes of intentional warming up, getting the blood through the muscles, and being purposefully doing those warm-up drills that's been prescribed.
Okay. Favorite supplement?
Creatine.
Creatine.
Nothing else.
Nothing else. Okay. That's so true. How often do you take? How many grams do you personally take, and do you recommend to most people?
There's like a study on how much you should take per body weight, but generally around the 5 gram mark is
Safe for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Every day.
All right. So this one, this question, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a conversation or discussion afterwards. Currently, right now in 2022, who do you think is the best powerlifting coach in the Philippines?
Ooh, that's a good take.
And all the coaches that you know, like specifically in powerlifting, who do you think is the best? So you can take it as who do you think can bring his or her team to the most medals or the most places, the most progress overall? Who do you think it is?
All right, I'm gonna cheat your question right now, and I'm gonna say the most influential coach in 2022 right now, probably Filippo Scarlata from Beyond Fitness.
Why would you say Filippo Scarlata is the most influential coach in 2022?
One, he's never been a spectacular athlete. So one of the coaches that's never been a spectacular athlete and has had consistent results, consistent cues results for all his athletes in powerlifting. I say most influential because I don't want to say best because best has a lot of nuance to it.
Yeah, there is. That's why I wanted this question because it's
sometimes the athletes just grow faster.
Okay.
Right, grow faster. They're more consistent or something. They make the coach gets more weight on the bar, but it's hard to say if they're the best. It's not just the total, right? It has a lot of factors to it. So most influential, I'm gonna say Filippo for sure.
What's one thing that you think you can learn from Filippo to apply to your own practice as a coach?
I think it's be less emotional in your decision making as a coach. I've had a lot of decisions that I've made in the past for coaching that where it's sort of I try to be logical most of the time, and I'm a logical person, but sometimes when things don't go the way you plan, you tend to be a bit emotional and rash in your decision making. Right? And I've seen Filippo's athletes, I've seen his some of his programming, I've seen what his athletes have been doing. And then it's very calculated. And the emotions, he has a way to he's also very logical. I think more logical than me when it comes to that. He has more control and his emotions for the decision making, for the programming side of things.
Okay. Oh, Filippo from Mayhem. Good job. You piqued the interest of Raymond, which is of course same naman din. I see the progress. If you're watching this, Filippo, if he is, I see the stories, the posts, everything on social media about your coaching, and I'm super happy that there are more and more coaches that are really, really evolving, and you're definitely one of the people leading the pack. So keep it up, man. All right, last thing is, what is your goal total for your lifetime? Then you'd be like, I mean, of course, we're gonna be like, oh, we're always gonna try to strive for better. It's not about number. It's about consistently adding blah blah blah. But no, not right now. Like the last thing that we're gonna talk about. What is your goal total for your lifetime? But before you answer that, what is your current lifetime best total?
I'm at 800 right now. That's my lifetime best. On competition on platform, probably squeeze a bit more, but. Yeah, I'd be happy to reach 900 before I retire.
900. So you're 800 flat right now?
Yeah, I'm 800 flat. 805 probably. I'd be happy with 900. But of course, when you reach a number, right? You don't know until you reach it.
Yes, exactly.
There's never an ending to this.
There's never an ending. Proud but never satisfied. Which of course is true. But 900 is a number that you'd be like, you did good. You did good.
Yeah, I did good. It used to be 800.
Oh, okay. So good job to Raymond for hitting us. But of course, once you hit the 800, like, what's the next thing?
What's the next one?
900. Yeah, of course, and then maybe next year when I have Raymond again, he's gonna be like, oh, I hit 900. Now time for 1,000. Hey, no one's gonna go against that. Everyone's gonna be rooting for you. Anyway, Raymond, thank you again for being my first guest here at the Foo Show. You were definitely appreciated, and I'm pretty sure to anyone who click this, thank you for clicking, and I'm pretty sure that everything that Raymond shared here for you today has been beneficial, has been valuable from you because you're hearing it from one of the country's best. and I'm happy that he's here. Thanks, man, for coming.
All right. Thanks for having me. Always.
All right, so this was episode 2. I'll see you guys next week. Or actually, not next week. I'll see you guys in the next episode, which will be uploaded on the same weekend, episode 3. See you guys then.